Hey everyone, so today we're going to take a look at some of my settings for the ArcDroid to get good quality cuts. And sort of the genesis of this whole thing, the idea was to minimize some of the wibbles and wobbles that you can get in your cuts with this machine. Because of the arm, it doesn't have the same rigidity as certain other plasma cutting systems out there, so we sort of have to tailor our settings to match what the machine can do and what our setup is. So I'll take you through some of the main settings. Right before we do that, I do want to emphasize that you should always make sure that you have good quality consumables in your torch. Bad quality consumables affect all parameters of your cut quality. You can be chasing ghosts if you don't make sure that you have good consumables. You also want to make sure that you take some time and really dial in your cut settings depending on what material you're cutting. Make sure that you're cutting at a speed that is fast enough but not too fast. Because you can end up with these same sorts of anomalies if you're not cutting at the right speed. There is sort of a window there, but just so you're aware of it. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go into our menu here. We want to go into Machine Settings, and we want to page down one. So the first one we want to go into is our max acceleration. And I set this to 350. This isn't a critical setting. You can come back and do this at the end once you dial the other ones in, because it's going to have the least effect on what you're doing. But just so you're aware, I did change this to 350. Next up, we have acceleration. I set this to 250, and this is what I've been cutting at for quite a while now, several months. I've gone up as high as 275 for certain cuts. But if you're doing something that has a lot of fine details in it and not a lot of longer cuts or arcs or anything, you may want to set this down even lower, maybe to 225 or to 200. You don't want to go too low, but you just want to get to the point where you've minimized or eliminated any of those wibbles or wobbles. The main setting, the jerk. So I end up setting this down to 1 from factory. I think it's set at 5 or 6. To me, that was just too high, except on, really large format cuts. I could not get this thing to cut consistently without having those little waves in my cuts. Setting this down to 1, I found really improved it over the vast majority of materials. Pretty much anything I throw on the table, I just look at my cut chart that I've made up and I can plug in my values and just run. And this seems to work really well. And I can't really see any instance where I'd want to run anything other than this. But your results may vary. Experiment, see what you find. So the only other setting is actually driver current. And you'll notice I have this set to 1700. I tried increasing this incrementally. I think I made it up to somewhere around 1750 or 1800. I found that didn't really have any good effects on the cut quality. Where I settled out with 1700, cuts were consistently good there, so that's where I left it. And it seems to sort of help the machine a little bit on the acceleration since we're sort of turning down some of the other parameters. It seems to keep up a little better, but you have minimal noise or ringing happening in the arm when it's set there. Again, you may want to experiment with this and your results may vary. The other really important thing is your pierce height. You want to make sure that your pierce height is high enough. It's somewhere around 200 to 250% of whatever your cut height is. If you don't do that, you can get spatter, especially with thicker materials where it takes it a second to punch down through. You can get spatter shooting back up into your nozzle and fouling that up, and your cut quality is going to suffer from that. And that does bring me to a good point. Make sure that you're regularly checking your consumables while you're dialing stuff in. It's very easy to have your nozzle touch your material or to have some spatter get up on your nozzle and you not realize it, and you're either getting a bad probe off the material or you're starting to sort of gouge out a little channel in your nozzle, or even if you've got damage to your electrode. You want to make sure that those maintain good quality, because otherwise you can be chasing problems that you think are due to settings when they're actually due to poor quality consumables or them being worn out or whatever. So hopefully those few tips help you out, and if they did, let me know, and we'll see you all next time.